fire, and he claims to know everything there is to know about this case.
Well, he was the prosecutor.
Yeah, he should know everything.
He should know.
Yeah.
But the thing about the body is, yeah, it's got no arms and legs, so theoretically the fire is so intense that it would have burned them off. There was also talk of a shotgun being found near the body, so it's believed, okay, he set the fire maybe, but he also must have tried to commit suicide by using the weapon on himself.
But there was a problem.
There was no gunshot wound in the body. There's an issue.
Come on, dude.
That raised the first red flags for the coroner, yeah.
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 Yeah. So, I guess I really just don't understand even how it plays out that he died in the first fire.
Yeah, I guess you would have to say that is Clarence backs the truck up into the barn, lights the barn on fire, and with the attempt of then he's going to use the gun on himself. I mean, this whole series of events, did that make any sense to anybody else? Because it doesn't to me.
No.
So that's
And
why
the
it's
ring, right? It was undamaged. If the fire was hot enough to burn his limbs off,
That was a bit of a red flag.
the ring
yeah.
on the finger should be damaged, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the coroner actually did an autopsy, believe it or not, and they found out that the body had a huge level of CO2, or not CO, of carbon monoxide in the bloodstream, enough to be fatal, and yet no evidence of smoke inhalation at all. The lungs were all clean and pink. So that was a little bit suspicious. And let's see, what else?
Blood type?
Oh, there was a blood type. Yeah, that didn't match. And then they found one tooth, and that didn't really match Clarence either.
It was also, wasn't it missing a kidney or...
I heard that in one place. I'm not going to totally swear by that one, but supposedly the body was missing a kidney, and Clarence had both his kidneys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if
No
it
evidence.
wasn't Clarence's body dead in the barn,
Well, who could have
was
been?
it?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the vagrant?
I can talk about the vagrant.
Talk about
vagrants all the time. So there's two versions of this story, but it is said that Clarence met a vagrant a town away, right, Joe? It was not actually in the town he lived in.
No, the town
No,
in the
Clarence
north,
would not be that dumb.
He was still dumb, but yeah, he didn't quite. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a vagrant, and either Clarence met him in a bar and poured so much liquor into him that when they walked out, the guy started falling down, and Clarence said, "I'm going to take him to get help." Or the other version of the story is that Clarence met this vagrant, he collapsed on the street having some sort of medical condition, and Clarence says, "I'll get my car, I'll take him to a doctor." There's no record of Clarence ever showing up in front of any doctor with this man. So there's the big first red flag about the vagrant.
Oh, the vagrant also, by the way, was, according to witnesses, had a brown plaid shirt on. Aye. And then it turns out that
Why is the brown shirt important?
the brown shirt's important.
Yeah, why is that important?
Why is that? Well, I will tell you why. The body was, even though it was badly burned, it was laying against the pavement, and so or the dirt. I don't know. Was that a dirt floor in there or paved floor? We don't care. We'll just assume it was something or the other. But
We'll just call it the floor.
yeah, apparently it got enough heat protection that a fragment of the shirt actually survived the fire. It turns out it was brown plaid. Clarence's cousin had stopped by to visit him like about 15 minutes before the fire actually broke out. And he said that Clarence was wearing a blue shirt, not a brown plaid shirt. So, well, that looked a little funny to the authorities. And so people, even though Clarence's family was swearing, and actually one pathologist was pretty sure it was Clarence also. But
that maybe seems really wrong.
well, it does, because, I mean, after all, how do you gas yourself and then start a fire? I mean, how do you do that? Exactly. I don't know, because the body should have succumbed totally to smoke inhalation, or excuse me, CO2. Not even
Carbon
CO2.
monoxide?
Carbon monoxide, yeah. You people are making me nervous. Cut it out.
Or just close your eyes, turn around.
Everybody look that way.
Okay, so we're pretty sure that Clarence did not die in that first fire, right?
Yeah, everybody's
Yeah.
pretty sure, except
Yeah.
for a few people. Like I said, his sons still contend, at least most of his sons, his family, they have a grave, actually, I think, with the original corpse buried in it and marked Clarence Roberts. So
Yeah, well,
they're
there's
still
$6 million
contending.
lighter since it wasn't.
Well, not lighter, but, they're not,
Okay.
yeah, they're not $6 million heavier,
So,
like they would have preferred.
Do you think Geneva knew that it wasn't Clarence?
You know,
You think she was in on it from the beginning?
I was kind of thinking it was Geneva, although when I talked to James Roberts about it, again, he was the one, more than me and more than the internet, who actually knew these two. And she was actually very sure that Geneva was not involved in any of this scheme. Because,
Well, the first one.
At least in the beginning. At some point, of course, it appears that Clarence did come back to town. He actually absconded with a fair amount of cash, and at some point he must have run out of money, is the thinking, and he came back to Geneva. She took him back in, and at that point, of course, she becomes complicit, because I didn't mention that there was a grand jury in 1975 that indicted Clarence on charges of kidnapping and murder for the murder of this vagrant. And so he was a wanted man. The police were actually, local police were looking for her. They were staking out Geneva's home from time to time. So at that point she became complicit, but he's very sure that she was beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
So Clarence would have then placed the ring himself
Probably Clarence put it in there himself, came back after the fire was done. And
after the
put that
volunteer
ring in.
firefighters left for the night?
Yeah, that's the thing. Clarence may not have been as smart as he thought he was.
Maybe.
I think, yeah. And one of the things that screwed Clarence up is that he had a pickup truck, as I mentioned, that the firefighters saved. And he had rigged it up as kind of a rolling gas chamber. He plugged the tailpipe, and he'd taken what appeared to be a hammer and a punch and punched a bunch of holes in the tailpipe. And the firefighters saved the truck from the fire. It was actually inside there. It should have been consumed by the fire, but these firefighters show up and they roll the truck out of there and save it. Later on, somebody discovered that a lot of carbon monoxide was leaking into the cab of the truck. And so that's when they looked at the tailpipe and discovered it had been punctured all over the place. I think Clarence probably intended for the truck to be consumed in the flames of the fire, but that didn't happen. So you got to ask yourself, why do you have a little rolling gas chamber? He didn't need it to gas himself inside a closed garage, obviously. Why do you have something like that?
To murder someone.
To like gas a vagrant, maybe.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. That's some other people are thinking. But it's kind of funny that the volunteer firefighter screwed up his plan, because obviously
We'll save it.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty hilarious, actually, when you think about it.
Okay, so that's theory number one done.
Oh
Right?
yeah, okay.
Theory number two would be Clarence set and died in the second fire with Geneva. I mean, the story here, right, is that a few years after Geneva moved into the shack, neighbors started talking about a strange man lurking around. And Geneva, who was diabetic and did not drink, though,
She wasn't supposed to drink.
well, she didn't. But then, her husband died or ran off or something, and
She had a good reason to
she
drink.
had some good reasons to
I
start
think so.
But she was reportedly purchasing a lot of beer and liquor and bringing it back to the house. So it's possible that, Clarence, as mentioned, came back, and that was Clarence that was lurking about. Right?
Yeah, but the important thing to know about the lurker is nobody 100% could say that was Clarence, because this guy, he had a really, really good habit of knowing when somebody was looking at him. Just one of those people, you get the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Apparently, he had spidey sense super good. And so somebody would be there, and he'd realize you were there, he would turn and start walking away. So if they were on one side of the house, he would put himself on the other side of the building. So nobody ever really got a good view of him. They never
no.
could say.
He was pretty distinctive looking.
Yeah, Clarence is actually not a bad-looking guy. That's not Clarence.
Yeah.
Who's that?
That's Clarence.
Clarence?
You guys want to see?
Okay, there you go. Oh, I thought Clarence had darker hair.
Well, he was old.
Of course, the guy could... What's that?
He was old.
Oh, okay. So his hair kind of went gray. All right, that happens. Of course, it could have been some guy with a facial deformity who was shy about it, or maybe some agoraphobia.
Yeah,
Or it could
it's
have been
possible it
Clarence,
wasn't.
but, the police were staking out Geneva's house. Apparently, this is a huge story in Brown County. I think people swung by just to check on Geneva themselves.
Just to laugh at her or something.
Yeah, or just to check out the rumors, see if they spotted Clarence in the front yard or something like that. So Geneva wound up nailing her front door shut. So she came and went by the back door just to avoid people watching her, which proved to be kind of maybe sort of fatal for her in the end, because they had that second fire
They did.
and they couldn't escape by the front door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the problem with nailing things shut.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Can't get
Yeah.
back out.
So again, the question though is who set that second fire?
Well,
Yeah.
We haven't really
somebody did apparently, because somebody used an accelerant, probably like, I don't know what gas, something like that.
Yeah,
But again,
gas or something like
again,
that.
according to James Roberts, the prosecutor, he said somebody set that fire. He said it was definitely not an accident.
Yeah,
There's
and it was a weird
Yeah.
fire because the bodies of apparently the Robertses were found in the bedroom, right?
No, actually, she was on a cot in the living room, and he was
Oh,
in
they
one
were
of the
asleep.
bedrooms.
That's why I thought
They were sleeping apart, yeah.
They were sleeping apart.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were
wonder why.
found,
Yeah.
and they died of smoke inhalation. Correct.
Yeah, they didn't get their limbs
Yep.
fried off
They
this
did-
time.
No.
Yeah.
But the trail of accelerant led to the back door. So it would be kind of weird to me that somebody would set a fire in their own house with the intention of killing themselves or whatever and lead it from the back door. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just soak the room you're in?
Well, you know, the only thing that I can think of, and this is Clarence's plan went wrong. If we're saying that Clarence is the one who set this fire.
Yeah.
The
Set
only
and
way
died.
that I can see that working is if Clarence did indeed walk into the shack, he's pouring accelerant as he's walking in. He then, you know, he says goodbye to Geneva in whatever his, you know, I love you, bye, I'm leaving again scenario is, and lights it, not realizing how fast a fire in a shack with accelerant is going to run, and
Seems
therefore
like
he
he
traps
should-
himself in.
Seems like he should know because he did that once before.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did a whole lot of things. If he did it, there's a whole lot of things in that first fire that didn't seem to add up. Like,
That's
you know, the
true.
shotgun and not shooting the guy and the rolling gas chamber. I mean, none of this seems like it's a really well-formulated plan.
That's
Well,
fair, yeah.
not if it was two of them. And there's been speculation about murder or suicide, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, what if they
Although-
committed suicide? Yeah, why would you like set a fire and kill yourself that way?
Are there any arsonists here? You guys have a point of view on this?
No?
But
Never
they,
tried to kill yourself with fire? None of
No.
you?
Okay, good. Don't do it.
Good, yeah,
and
don't-
we
let's
will
not-
have a couple of minutes at the end for audience participation if you guys want to throw out any theories, and special preference if you think OJ did it. You get to come to the front of the line.
You can skip the line.
Well, but there is the
Yeah.
issue of the alcohol levels in both of the bodies.
They had a lot of booze in them.
They both had a lot of booze. Devin, do you remember?
It was 0.3 for Clarence, and 0.2 for Geneva, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
okay.
sound right? I
Yeah,
have it
sounds
written
about
down
right.
somewhere, but
Which-
we're not
that-
on
that's-
script at all
That's
anymore.
an exceptionally high level of alcohol to have in your system, which
Yeah.
is why I'm thinking, that's why I wondered if, you know, whoever said it completely bungled it.
Has anybody here ever been busted for DUI and had a breathalyzer? Has anybody ever blown 0.3? Anybody? I think that's a no. Yeah, I had no idea what 0.3 does to you if you're even conscious.
Well, and especially, I mean, I know that you wanted to say that, you know, maybe since Geneva had less alcohol in her system, maybe she did it, but she wasn't a drinker.
Nah, probably not a heavy
And
drinker.
so I don't think she would have been able to even do that.
Probably not.
Well, and
Although that could explain how sloppy the whole thing was.
Well, but if
Yeah.
Clarence is the one who's, if it was Clarence that's the lurker and she is bringing home all this booze for him, he may have had an exceptionally high tolerance. I mean, guys who sit around and do nothing but drink all day, every day for an extended period of time, their tolerance is high.
And he was a fugitive from the law. So when you're a fugitive, what do?
Sit around and drink.
You drink, you know. I mean, yeah. I don't know what else you would do.
I think
Yeah.
that's probably all you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, I think that's most likely, but there's a lot of other theories out here.
Okay.
What if that lurker wasn't Clarence?
So who was it?
A boyfriend?
Who was jealous about Clarence being
Or
back
what
home?
if, like, Clarence came back and was like, what? Boyfriend?
So-
You're supposed to wait for me. You thought I was dead,
I
but
supposed
wait
to
for
wait
me
10 years
forever.
for me, yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
And then killed them both by a fire.
Clarence killed them both?
Yeah.
Or the boyfriend killed Clarence and her?
No, Clarence killed them both.
Oh, Clarence killed them. Oh, I see. So Clarence wasn't killed in the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either fire. is
That's-
what you're
Either
saying.
fire.
Yeah.
Clarence is still out there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, that's
He's right there. No.
There's always that possibility. Yeah, according to what I have heard, they used X-rays because apparently Clarence had been admitted to a couple of different hospitals a few times. So there were bone X-rays out there of Clarence, and they compared the bones in the body to his X-rays from those stays, and they matched. And a dentist looked at the dental records of Clarence plus the corpse, and those matched. So it's a pretty definitive identification, I think.
You're ruining this episode.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Or at least
Facts.
it's theory.
I kind of wrecked the theory. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
you are.
But I mean, I should say this. I mean, the police had been struggling with this case for a long time. They obviously really wanted to get Clarence, and so you can see there might have been a little incentive there to sort of fudge things a little bit and close the case.
Oh.
So even though I don't really think that's what
You
happened.
mean a police conspiracy?
Exactly. So there is always that possibility. I don't really subscribe to it, but
Yeah, it seems
it's a possibility.
weird. Like, why, though?
They want to close the case. Looks better.
But wasn't it kind of closed? No?
No, it's still an open case. They were still staking out Geneva's house from time to time. Yeah.
He's a wanted man.
Dang
Yeah.
it. Okay.
I think it might have been a third party myself.
Who?
Well, that's a good question.
Do you want to talk about third party first? Or you want
Well,
to
let's
talk
see.
about
Who would have a
Geneva
motive?
first?
Oh, what, Geneva?
Yeah.
That's true. Oh, you want to throw that one?
What if it was Geneva?
Oh, well, yeah.
You're the leader on this one, but
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
you added this. I don't know.
Okay. Let's do this then. Real quick, so there was this big to-do with the insurance companies about the life insurance policies. The insurance companies didn't want to pay because they weren't convinced that Clarence had died in that first fire.
Surprise.
Yeah, so this one's on for a long time. After 7 years, they wanted to get him declared legally dead, but they were having a bit of trouble with that because nobody believed at that point in time that it was actually Clarence who had died. So she took the insurance companies to court. And the case was finally decided, I don't remember when, like 1979, something like that. And then they took it to the Indiana Court of Appeals. Mid-October 1980, about a month before the second fire.
October 15th.
Was it October 15th? Okay. They handed down their ruling, which is they upheld the lower court's ruling. And then that was appealed again to the court for a rehearing, like an en banc hearing. If you guys know what that means, en banc. Yeah.
What does it mean?
That means where usually courts of appeals usually they will typically have 3-judge panels deciding a case, and then if somebody wants to appeal that, they can appeal for an en banc thing, which means that the entire panel of judges on the court hears the entire thing. So they appealed to that, and November 24th, 1980, the appeal for the rehearing was turned down. So that's 5 days.
5 days.
5 days before that second fire. So my theory is that somebody was extremely disappointed with that court ruling.
Geneva.
It could have been Geneva. I mean, Geneva, after all, had been suffering for 10 years, and that was her, light at the end of the tunnel. And when that was snuffed out, well, she might have lost it and decided, well, I'm killing myself and taking Clarence with me.
Yeah.
Because it's all his fault.
Yeah. Well, it kind of was all his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I said that.
Yeah. Or there's somebody else maybe who was disappointed. I mean, Clarence, kind of liked to live beyond his means, as I said.
Just kind of.
A little bit, yeah. He was not the most responsible human being out there. He might have had a creditor or two, maybe somebody who was like, one of these guys, these lenders that kind of skirt the edges of the law a little bit.
Loan shark.
The guy kept coming around suggesting that maybe he was going to break his kneecaps, and Clarence kept saying, hey, no, we're going to collect all this money from the insurance company. And then when that possibility was finally shut off, the loan shark comes around and says, not only you've been shining me on for like years, dude, I'm going to kill you. And so maybe that's what happened.
So you're saying it was murder?
I'm thinking it was murder.
You're saying it's murder, and you're not saying it was Choopy
Yeah.
that did the murder.
Well, you never know. Could have been Chippy. I'm actually wearing a Chippy t-shirt. By the way.
It's true.
Available for sale.
Buy our stuff.
Please. And so, I don't know. And of course, we wanted to leave a little bit of time open for the audience because I know you guys have probably got all kinds of theories of your own. Are you guys ready to throw it to the audience?
Well, did you want to talk
bit?
about it being an accident? Did we talk about it being an accident?
Yeah,
No, thank you.
well, it could have been. I originally thought there was that possibility. After I talked to John Roberts about it, he was pretty definitive that it was not an accident. It was deliberately set. But let's talk about it anyway. I mean, they were drunk. Maybe you're really hammered and you decide you're going to put on a little green tea or something like that, turn the sober up. And then you forget, you pass out, you forget about the burner you left on. I mean.
Yeah, although, accelerant.
And then on your way back to your cot in the living room to pass out, you trip over that can of gas.
That you keep by the door.
In
case of emergencies.
You pick it up upside down and it's just trailing behind you somehow.
I'm kind of thinking, maybe.
Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't like it. Do you like it?
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, the only other it wasn't Clarence or Geneva that did it would be one of their children.
Yeah.
because you
They had
know
pretty good reason.
I mean,
Well,
if you think about it, your dad disappeared and apparently tried to defraud the insurance company, and in a way has smeared the family name. I mean, they were not happy to the point that they disowned their mother, so they must have been carrying some